Hello, it's Friday Live here this Friday, the 20th of February. A big welcome to everyone as I go live on Facebook and YouTube. Fiona Lukey's here and ready to answer any questions that you have about life, relationships, how things work, the nature of being human, the way our minds work. All of these things play a vital role in how well we do relationships, our own emotional, mental well-being, and how well we adapt to change. So I'm here to answer any questions that you have. I've had some great questions sent through this week. It's a gorgeous day here in Melbourne, which is where I live. Really sunny, beautiful, lovely, warm day as we are moving towards the tail end of summer. And if you're just tuning in, obviously feel free to say hi. Let me know where you're listening from. It is Friday, the 20th of February, 2026. And we have just entered the year of the horse, the fire horse. And we started this on February 17. And I got to say, it's been a wild ride so far, in a very good way, in a very, very good way. Lots of things happening. The fire horse energy is a very fast moving energy. So you want to make sure, like, seriously, if you are this is the best year in terms of letting go of stuff that doesn't serve you, like, or having already let it go and then moving forward into the new. That's the fantastic. It's fast paced. It moves quickly. I've just said the same thing in two different ways. But you want to be ready for it, right? So this is the time to let go of what doesn't serve you and step into something new and embrace change. So if you are fearful of change, your mind's going over time, it's really going to hold you back this year, in the year of the fire horse. Like, this is the time to embrace those things so that you can take advantage of this energy, because it's a wonderful energy. Like, it really is. I'm really excited about it. Hi, Melinda. Hello, darling. Thank you for saying hi. I'm really looking forward to meeting you in person at our Relatable retreat, which is coming up very, very soon. And anybody else out there who wants to say hi, please do so. So I'll get right into the questions today, because I've got some doozies here which will generate a really great conversation. One of the first questions I want to answer, because this is a question that comes my way a lot. You know, a lot of people are in that phase, or when things aren't going well in their relationships, they're questioning, you know, is this a relationship that's worth saving, right? This is a really big question that I get. You know, how do I know? And this is a relationship that's been this is a question that's been sent to me. Hi, Fiona. I've been following your lives for ages. And I'm really, I found so many things you've shared with you so helpful, but I'm really struggling with this question. How do I know if my relationship is worth fighting for? How do I know if my relationship is worth fighting for? I think this is a great question, and you can apply this question to any and every relationship in your life. Okay, maybe you've got a friendship that you're not sure about. That maybe this is someone you've had in your life for a long time, but you're not sure about. Maybe it's a partner. Maybe it's a family member. Maybe it's like really a coworker. You can apply this question to any and all relationships. And the great thing about the understanding that I teach is it applies to all relationships. It's not just about romantic relationships, although obviously those are the ones that people struggle with the most, but this applies to all relationships. So the place that you're going to look for the answer, the place that I point you to, applies to all relationships. And I think that makes things so much easier. It simplifies things so much. So if I'm looking at a relationship that I'm vacillating in, and I'm kind of in and out, or I'm struggling with, and I've got that question, is this relationship worth saving? This is such an important question to ask yourself, right? But the first thing I want to say to that is, before you can actually answer that question, you have to understand whether you are in the right state of mind to even answer it. So what I find with people is we tend to ask ourselves those questions more when we're not in a great state of mind. right? We ask ourselves those questions more when we're not in a great state of mind. Now, some of you are going to be listening to me and go, well, of course, Fiona, if I'm upset, I'm going to be questioning my relationship more. Like, that makes sense. Like, I don't know what you're trying to say. And all I'm saying is you have to understand that in an upset frame of mind, we see things through a magnifying glass. We are looking through a distortion, right? We are looking through a distortion. It doesn't mean that how you feel isn't valid. And I'm not trying to take away from your experience at all, but you have to understand that your state of mind will flavor how you see something. So before you even ask that question, you have to understand state of mind, right? And this is something that I teach in much greater detail in my signature program, Relatable, right? This is a conversation we have a lot, but you have to understand state of mind, because this to me is something that trips us up a lot. So if you're not in the right state of mind and you're trying to work out whether your relationship is worth saving, you could end up in a situation that you regret, right? And equally, that applies to the opposite. So when I say a situation you could regret, you could decide that you want to leave, and I've had many people really. That is very common as well. Many people reach out to me after they've made a decision to leave and say, oh my goodness, Fiona, time's passed. I really wish I could go back because I would have made a different decision. And really, this innocently happens because people don't understand state of mind. So the first thing is you've got to know the state of, whether you're in a trustworthy state of mind or not, right? It's very, very, very important. And this is often a question people don't even consider. Right? Don't even consider. Whereas it's absolutely got to be the very first thing that you consider if you're making a decision over whether a relationship is worth saving or not. So those of you who've just joined, I'm answering a question that I get asked a lot, which is, how do I know if my relationship is worth saving or not? Right? This is a very, very, very common question. And what I'm actually saying is the very first thing you have to do is understand whether you are in the right state of mind, because state of mind has a massive influence over everything. So that's the first thing, right? Before you even go to answering that question, you've got to know that. Hey, Jody. Hello, darling. Thank you for saying hi. Appreciate that. And appreciate you. Thank you, honey. Now, the second thing is, right? So the first thing is, you got to understand state of mind, because the answer rarely lies in the relationship itself. All right. It rarely lies in the relationship itself, which might surprise some of you. Okay. It may surprise some of you. But what I've seen over 16 years of working with couples and individuals is that, like I said before, most people are trying to make this decision from within a storm, right? When they're anxious, exhausted, when everything looks worse than it is, when they're in a state of hopelessness and helplessness. So you got to know the state of mind you're in first, all right? Before you consider that question. And it is amazing how different things can look depending on your state of mind. Like, this would be one of the things that blows my students away the most, my couples clients, is understanding state of mind and how differently things look. And then, of course, it's about building a different relationship with your different states of mind, right? Most people tend to make decisions when they're in a state of mind that is completely untrustworthy. And that may surprise some of you, but we go in and out of untrustworthy states of mind a lot. So you got to know, because it's the most untrustworthy state of mind that feels the most compelling. Right? It's the most untrustworthy state of mind that feels the most compelling. And that's when people make decisions. Me understanding that, just that one thing alone, let alone the other things that we look at inside of Relatable, that completely changed my marriage all those years ago. That changed my marriage. And to me, this is one of the most misunderstood, underutilized things that people just that we're just not taught, right? We look out here and we find all the reasons why, like that, the whole pros and cons list that we get, write the pros, write the cons. That's all well and good, but if you are in a untrustworthy state of mind, how many pros do you think you're going to find versus how many cons, right? When you're doing something like that, you'll find that you might find one positive thing and everything is negative. This is definitely, when I first start working with a couple, this is something that shocks and surprises them, because they realize how much they are relating to one another or trying to connect or solve problems, move forward, let go of stuff through an untrustworthy state of mind. And, when you don't understand this is why you keep having what I call relationship Groundhog Day. You keep coming back to the same thing over and over and over again. Now, if we keep coming back to the same thing over and over and over again, that just cements in our mind that this is a relationship that's not worth saving, or we're incompatible, or we've got too many problems, or we've got too much history, or which is the stuff that I hear over and over and over again. But then I get these people that say, we've got all of this stuff, but I'm not ready to walk away. I want to be able to work it out. But how do I get past all the stuff, right? This is one of the first steps to that. And so, I was speaking with a couple that I'm working with. I was speaking with him yesterday, and he was saying to me, I was talking to him about this, and he was saying, I'm really noticing a difference, Fiona, just from learning this, because I can see now when I'm in a trustworthy or untrustworthy state of mind, and I see my wife differently. Like, I literally see her differently depending on my state of mind. And he said it's been a real eye-opener to me, and it's really giving me the capacity and the potential to see her in a completely different way. And he said, when we first started working with you and you told me that you would show me this, I didn't believe you. I didn't think it was possible, but I'm actually starting to see that in real time, because he had a lot of dissatisfied thinking about his wife, a lot. And he realized that, that was what was the predominant thing in their marriage. And, when you change your relationship with that, it changes everything. And he actually said to me, we actually had a really interesting conversation about this, because he likes to do a lot of, he said, I've got a curious brain. I like to study things, listen to things, blah, 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 blah. But he was sort of saying, I'd listened to this talk where a professor was sharing about how differently the male and female brain is wired. And he said, I find stuff like that really interesting. What are your thoughts? And honestly, whilst I find that kind of stuff interesting, I don't believe that's the thing that moves the needle at all in a relationship. We can sit there and go, oh, that's interesting because, women do this, men do this. But, when you're looking at differences, we tend to think more. We tend to have more in our mind. We tend to notice problems more. And we think that by gaining a lot more information, it helps. But really what helps is simplifying. It's simplifying things. And so one of the things I was talking to him about and what I was sharing with him was, yes, you can look at things like that. And I'm not saying those things aren't helpful. But in my mind, they are not going to be the thing that moves the needle long term, because we don't need more information. We don't need more stuff in our heads. What we need is to simplify this, because human beings are more similar than they are different. They truly are. We need to simplify this, and we need to look in the direction of sameness. And I started to teach him sameness. I said, you've learned difference, and that's great, but let's now look in the direction of sameness. Now, when you look in the direction of sameness, are you thinking more or are you thinking less? And he said, I'm thinking less. And I said, Now, when you think less, do you have more emotional bandwidth or less emotional bandwidth? He said, I've got more emotional bandwidth. I said, yes. Now, when you have more emotional bandwidth, are you more patient, loving, understanding, compassionate, or are you less? And he sat there and he had this moment and he said, Well, I'm more patient, loving, understanding, and compassionate. I said, exactly. And I said, now in a state of mind where you're more patient, loving, compassionate, and understanding, how do you view your wife? He said, well, I just see her as this beautiful, amazing creature that's, the mother of my children, my best friend, someone I'm moving through life with. And I said, yes. Now, when you're not in that state of mind, how do you view your wife? And he said, well, I guess I view her as controlling, critical, difficult. I said, exactly. I said, which one feels better? And he said, well, of course, when I see her as my best friend, when I see her as the, someone I'm doing life with, I said, yes, that's right. Now I said, do you think you're able to see that when you're understanding the differences between the male and female brain? He said, no, not really. I said, right, now that I've just taught you about sameness, do you see that more? And he said, I do, actually, I do, because she's just like me. And I said, exactly, she's just like you. And you're just like her. How much more calming is that for our mind when we see that? When I can look at my husband and I can see that he's just like me. Now, I'm not talking about at a personality level here. That's not what I mean. I'm talking about something that transcends personality, right? Yes, we've all got different personalities. My husband's more of a processor of information. I'm more of a let's just jump to it kind of gal. I'm more outwardly expressive. He's more inwardly expressive. I mean, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about something that transcends those things. And if you want to create long-term change, if you want to create a deeper level of connection, you have to be able to transcend those things rather than learn about how do I cope with our differences, right? How do I cope with our differences? That tends to create a more transactional state of mind, right? And what I teach people how to do, what I point people in the direction of, is to go way beyond a transactional state of mind. Transactional state of mind is a pretty low base when it comes to creating deep connection, deep understanding, intimacy, deep intimacy, playfulness, lightheartedness. If you're aiming for a transactional state of mind, there's just so much more on offer than that. And that's what I'm really passionate about helping people see and sharing with people. So you've got to be able to, right? If you're trying to make any decisions about anything, and this really goes to anything in your life. And again, that's why these principles are so wonderful, because you can apply them to anything, right? And these are some of the wonderful conversations we have on our live calls inside the Relatable program with our students. We have these kinds of conversations. But when you understand state of mind and you understand the way things work, all you see is the sameness. You don't even care about the differences. You don't even have thinking about them, right? I don't have thinking about my husband's differences with me. I could care less. To me, they are not the leverage point for us. I don't want to be married to someone who's a carbon copy of me, right? And there's a reason why we're attracted to each other. There's a reason why those differences were things that we found attractive, right? And I still do. But learning how to navigate them, overcome them, is not what creates deep-seated connection, deep-seated intimacy, deep-seated understanding. That's such a low base. I don't have thinking about my husband's differences. I don't care. We're operating at a different level here. And so I'm not in a transactional state of mind with him. Here's what a transactional state of mind tends to look like. You're very competitive with one another in a transactional state of mind. So, your wife might say to you, honey, I'm really tired. Can you put the kids to bed tonight? Do you mind putting the kids to bed tonight? I'm tired, right? Or she might say, I put the kids to bed the last 5 nights. Can you do it tonight? In a transactional state of mind, your response to that will be, I have worked massive hours this week. Do you not understand the kind of hours I've been doing? Of course I would have helped you, but I've had meetings after work. I've had deadlines. I've had proposals to submit. I've had all of this stuff going on. Right? You're in competition. You hear that through a lens of competition. Everything's a competition. Who's done more than the other? Who needs to do more of what? You're keeping score. That's what a transactional state of mind looks like, right? Now, in a transactional state of mind, you don't know the forest for the trees. You don't even know what your relationship is capable of, right? In a transactional state of mind, you've got no idea of what your relationship is capable of. And from there, you're now trying to make a decision over whether it's worth saving or not. You don't even know what it's capable of. Right? Now, if you don't know what your relationship is capable of, then making a decision around whether it's saving or not, worth saving or not, can you see that you don't have enough information? Can you see that you're making a decision from a really low base? And so this is what I see time and time again. People make decisions and there are different states of mind. And again, these are the things that we talk about in Relatable. If that's something that you want to know more about, and to me, this matters more than anything. You know, I was listening to someone talk about the impact of AI in our lives. And they were saying, you know, AI is going to replace many, many things. And it will. I'm sure that it will. But there are some things that are irreplaceable skills that every human being needs to have. And a lot of people struggle with them. Right? A lot of people struggle with them. And irreplaceable skills are things like compassion, presence, resilience, listening, understanding, emotional intelligence. These are irreplaceable skills that people need to develop. No matter what's going on in your life, you need to develop them because those are skills that AI can't replace. And if you don't have those skills, right, this is really important. Like I was listening to this and I've always felt very passionately that we need to be good at relationships. Like this is a non-negotiable thing that we need to have in our lives for all sorts of reasons. Our ability to deal with change, our ability to let things go, our ability to get over ourselves, which people struggle with the most, our ability to lead, our ability to be creative, our ability to parent, our ability to love, our ability to generate intimacy. Like these are such fundamental skills that we need to have, and so many people don't have them. And it's not because it's anybody's fault. This is not a judgment call on anybody. It's because we are becoming so institutionalized to being busy-minded, overthinking, using our personal analytical brain way more than we're meant to. I was actually just speaking to someone yesterday who was saying to me, Fiona, I struggle to feel joy in any area of my life. And we realized they'd gone to see psychologists, they'd done lots of different things. And they realized that it's because they are in their analytical brain 90 to 95% of the time. And I can tell you right now, if you're in your analytical brain 90 to 95% of the time, or your personal mind, you will feel extremely exhausted, unfulfilled, lonely, and disconnected, because that's not where you generate connection from. And you're missing those skills. And we need this more than ever. With the advent of AI, we need these skills more than ever. Like this has got to be something that's a non-negotiable in your life. That you're like, I need to be good at this stuff. I need to be good at this stuff. I don't need to wait till my relationship is in crisis to be good for it either, to be good at it, to decide I want to learn more, which is what most people do. They kind of just go through life, and then their relationships go through really challenging times, and then they go, hey, I better do something. And look, kudos to you. Anyone that is prepared to do that, to learn, to grow, like I have a huge amount of respect for. Huge. because it takes courage, it takes humility, it takes grace. And what I mean by grace is the ability to look at yourself without judgment, to be able to look at someone else without the lens of judgment. That takes grace. And we need more of that in the world, more than ever. Those are qualities that are going to shine in the world. We need them more than ever. And these are the things people struggle with. And one of the biggest reasons people struggle with it is they don't understand state of mind. And so they don't know where to look for the answer. And they're institutionalized to overthink everything and try and think their way out of a problem. The more we think, the more we suffer. Interesting, isn't it? It's true. The more we think, the more we suffer. The more we think, the more we resist. The more we think, the more rigid we become, the less flexible we are. The more we think, the more serious we take everything. Right? And the more we think, the more stuck we become. This is why I keep saying to people, the greatest thing that has ever happened to me and continues to is the understanding that I live by each and every day. Hey, Leanne Arnott. Hello, darling. Hello. Thanks for saying hi. Hi, Jody. It's so amazing and so true. I love that those differences are now more amusing than anything else. Yes. How cool is that? So many people come to me and I love that, Jody. Thanks for sharing that. So many people come to me and say it's the differences, like we're too different. But of course, when you look back at the beginning, how is it that those were the things that you loved about that person? How is it? How is it that those can be those things that you loved about that person? That were the things you enjoyed the most. Oh, I love how calm they are. I love how passionate they are. I love how much they get done. I love how driven they are. And then over time, those differences, my partner's so calm. They're like asleep. I can't stand it. They're too quiet. Too quiet for me. Yeah, I can't stand how passionate they are. They're just too loud. They're just too loud. I don't want to be with someone that loud. Oh, they're so driven. I never see them. Yeah, so driven. Like, I'm not even a priority. I don't even know what I was thinking. Like, it's just so interesting. Right? So interesting. I just find it endlessly fascinating how we can go from I love those things to those are the reasons why we can't be together. Because what we're actually saying, and this is how human beings are so funny and why I came up with the term or the phrase, or why it's just become such a part of my vernacular, is the term funny little human. We talk about it a lot in Relatable, and it's the name of my book. If you haven't bought it, it's available on Amazon. And it's on Audible as well. I recorded this in a studio, so you can listen to it as well. But our funny little human gets very confused, right? Gets very confused, especially when we overthink, and then does and says things that it really, really, really regrets. And what I find hilarious, what I find funny is people who go from, I love how passionate my wife is. I love how excited they get. And then they'll come to me and say, oh, I can't stand it. My wife is too loud. My wife's too controlling. Or my husband's too controlling. Or right? It's hilarious. And again, I'm not laughing at anybody. I'm laughing with people. I laugh with people, but it's funny, right? It's just so funny how we can go from I love how different they are to why can't they be just like me? Because that's essentially what you're saying. Why can't they be just like me? Why can't they just do things my way? Right? Now, this is what's funny, because when you see it, it is funny when you see it, because what you're essentially saying is, right, this is what is hilarious. And when people see it, through a lens of humility, okay, not through a lens of judgment. When people see it through a lens of humility, basically what you're saying is, I want them to be just like me, because the way I see the world, the way I move through the world is better than the way they do. That's essentially what you're saying, right? And of course, like, this is the thing that you have to get your head around. Being in a relationship with someone who thinks that the way they see the world is better than you, right? That the way they do things is better than you, is not an enjoyable place to be in relationship from, is it? Like, it's not very nice when you feel like you're in a relationship with someone who thinks that you're not enough, because that's essentially what you're projecting. And these are the things that people innocently do with one another, and where relationships become transactional. And then we think learning all this kind of stuff out here, like the differences in the way men and women are wired and attachment styles and all this kind of stuff. And again, I'm not saying they're not helpful, but in my mind, they're not the things that move the needle, because we need less on our minds. We do better when we think less. We really suffer when we think more. And people are under this false, misguided, innocent illusion that the more they think, the more they are going to solve something. It's actually not true. It's actually not true. The greatest ideas have come when people have been in a state of no thought. This is true. I did a number of years ago now, because I was just I find human beings fascinating. I always have my whole life, but I interviewed 20 multi-millionaires. Interviewed 20 of them because I was just curious. They were all running their own businesses, and I interviewed every single one of them, and they all had something in common. They were all, and they wouldn't have called it this, they wouldn't have used this language, okay? They wouldn't have used this language. But they all got their best business ideas. They all made their biggest decisions from a space of no thought, when they had less on their mind. One guy who set up a company that he had just sold for $25 million admitted to me that the idea for that company came when he was lying on a beach. He wasn't doing anything. It just came to him, right? He wasn't thinking about it. I remember working with a guy who ran an accountancy firm in Brisbane a few years ago. And we were actually working together. He was a client of mine. We've been working together for quite a few months. And he rang me on a Saturday morning, really excitedly. He was actually playing PlayStation with his son, wasn't thinking about anything. This is a true story. And he rang me and he said, "Fiona, you're not going to believe this." And I said, "What?" Because I'd been teaching him about the power of no thought, right? And we'd been looking in this direction. He goes, "I was just playing PlayStation with my son, and an idea came into my head of how I could save one of my biggest clients $3.5 million a year in tax." And he said, "I just rang my client. He was about to get on a plane. He was flying to Europe somewhere. I rang my client and told him, and my client was like, 'Oh my God, that's brilliant. How did you come up with that? You must have been working on this for weeks.'" And he said, I was a bit embarrassed. I couldn't admit to him that I was just playing PlayStation with my son, and it just showed up. But this is true. This is how things work. Albert Einstein understood this. So, which is why he was always so fascinated by the things he didn't know rather than the things he did know. He was fascinated by imagination, because that's how it works. We do our best with less on our minds. We are more loving with less on our minds. We are more compassionate. We are a better version of ourselves with less on our minds. But we're not taught to appreciate this. We're taught to appreciate gathering lots of information, right? Thinking about stuff a lot, because it gives us a false sense of control, right? When you're thinking a lot, you feel like you have more control over something than you actually do. It satisfies our funny little human. Funny little human feels like it's in control. A funny little human feels like it's productive, when all it's doing is just thinking itself into a state of overwhelm and stuckness. It's hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. Hello, Nathan Holmes. Live but late. Love it. Hello. Thanks for saying hi. It's always lovely to see you guys. Thank you. Is this making sense? I'm just curious as to how people, if this is helpful to people, if this is making sense, if this is resonating, if it's not. It's always a bit tricky on Friday Lives. Obviously, in my relatable live calls, we've got instant conversation, instant discussion happening. So, I can get feedback straight away, but I'm just speaking out here into the void, so to speak. So the only way I know if this is helpful to you or on point or something that you can resonate is whatever you share with me in the comments. So I'd love to know if this is helpful. I truly, truly would. And if there is something that a topic or something that you would like me to talk about, if there's something that you would like to know more about or you'd like me to expand on, just let me know, okay? Because pop it in the comments and let me know, because I'm more than happy to cover anything like that might be helpful for you guys. Hey, Bronwyn. Hi, darling. Hello, honey. I hope you're coming to our retreat in Melbourne. I'd love to meet you in person, honey. Hello, Peter. How is your fiance, Peter? Sending love and positive energy to all, Fiona. There's a calm with understanding, which is beyond words. It's knowing. It's incredibly powerful. Oh, she's doing well. There it is. Oh, that's so awesome. Thank you. That's so good to hear, Peter. I'm so happy to hear that. Hi, William. You always make sense, Fiona. Oh, thank you, William. Thank you. You're very kind. Thank you so much. And for those of you who want to know about Relatable, would like to join us, I've put the link there for you, popping up on your screen in just a moment. We have got a retreat coming up as well. The first one I have run in 5 years, but it's for Relatable members only. So if you join Relatable, you get a chance to come to our retreat, which is going to be absolutely awesome. It's in May, 1st to the 3rd of May, and in my hometown or near where I live, very close to where I live in Mornington. Okay, everybody, that's it for me today on this Friday, the 20th of February. I hope that has been helpful. I'd love you to get some feedback in the comments. Really appreciate any feedback, anything. And feel free to share this live with someone who you feel that may benefit. And love anyone who subscribes or follows me on Facebook or YouTube. That helps them push this out to more people. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. I will see you next Friday, the final Friday in February before we hit March. All right. Take care, everyone. Ciao.